Tonight, a state of emergency in Southern California as crews race to prevent a container from overheating and possibly exploding or leaking. The stunning rise of Ebola cases in Africa, with more than 1,000 reported cases in the Congo, and NASCAR honors racing legend Kyle Busch. But we begin with those crews working around the clock to prevent an environmental disaster. A large tanker filled with thousands of gallons of a highly toxic chemical could leak or explode. Tens of thousands have already evacuated their homes. That tank is in a densely populated area in Orange County. We're live at the command center. And the desperate race to contain that deadly and fast-spreading Ebola outbreak in Africa. Health officials say 10 countries are now at risk, and reported cases are soaring above the 1,000 mark in the Congo. Several countries, including the U.S., now enforcing travel restrictions. Tense moments at the White House. A gunman was killed after opening fire at a U.S. Secret Service checkpoint. President Trump is now renewing calls for the ballroom. Our Selina Wang was there and is back on the scene tonight. The Memorial Day washout for the eastern half of the country and the flash flood threat across several states from Louisiana to West Virginia. Our weather team is tracking it all. Emotional tributes. How the racing world is honoring NASCAR legend Kyle Busch after his sudden and tragic death. Mixed messaging from the White House on a possible deal to end the now 3-month-old war in Iran. Less than 24 hours after saying a deal was near, President Trump is now suggesting that there is no rush to make one, all while Americans pay more for gas and groceries. Our Ian Panel is in Tel Aviv tonight. What triggered a stampede at a bike festival in South Carolina? At least 19 people were injured. The New York Knicks are just one win away from their first NBA Finals appearance in nearly 30 years. But can the Cleveland Cavaliers come back? And America Strong tonight, dancing the night away. The 100-year-old veteran attending his first prom ever after missing his to serve more than 80 years ago.
From ABC News World Headquarters in New York, this is World News Tonight.
Good evening, everyone. Thanks so much for joining us on this Sunday. I'm Lindsay Davis. California lawmakers and the governor are now appealing to the White House to make a disaster declaration. Authorities say they are making progress tonight and may be able to avoid a catastrophic disaster. There is desperation to find a solution to this crisis. The tank is located in a densely populated area just miles away from two Disney theme parks, Angel Stadium and Knott's Berry Farm. At least 50,000 people in Orange County have been forced to evacuate their homes and seek residence in temporary shelters. And the mayor is warning residents not to ignore those evacuation orders, calling this a very dangerous situation. ABC's Jaclyn Lee leads us off from the command center.
Tonight, progress in the desperate efforts to prevent an environmental disaster in Orange County, California. Crews able to get close enough to that unstable 7,000-gallon tank full of hazardous liquid, finding a potential crack, offering a glimmer of hope. Why would this be a good thing?
So the thing about the crack is what we're looking for. It's going to relieve pressure. We want the pressure relieved out of that tank.
He goes on to explain there could still be an explosion, just not a catastrophic one. For days, officials have feared the tank would either explode into a fireball, igniting nearby tanks, or the methyl methacrylate, a highly volatile chemical inside, would leak out. Even short-term exposure could cause skin and eye irritation and breathing problems. More than 50,000 residents remain under evacuation orders. 2 residents filing a class action lawsuit yesterday against GKN Aerospace, the company in charge of the tanks. And tonight, the governor requesting President Trump issue an emergency declaration to support response operations. The EPA saying it has been monitoring air quality since Friday.
We've been involved in the modeling of different scenarios. We're being told that the tank will fail, but there are different scenarios as to what that means.
The evacuation area is a densely populated area and is not far from several major area attractions, including Disneyland, Knott's Berry Farm, and the Angel Stadium. The Angels going ahead with a game tonight against the Rangers. Officials insisting the areas outside of the evacuation zone are completely safe. Lindsay, crews will conduct another operation tonight, and if all goes well, it's possible authorities will shrink the evacuation zone. Lindsay.
Many hoping that's the case. Jaclyn, thank you. Overseas now to the deadly and rapidly spreading Ebola outbreak in Africa. The number of reported cases now above 900 in the Congo. Health officials face several challenges trying to contain this rare strain of the virus. ABC's Lama Hasan has the latest.
Tonight, it is a race against time to try to stop the deadly Ebola virus from spreading. The outbreak in Central Africa rising rapidly. The Democratic Republic of Congo now has more than 900 reported cases, according to local authorities, and 10 countries also considered at high risk for an outbreak. Health officials sounding the alarm.
It will be a big mistake to underestimate, especially with this strain.
In the middle of those 10 countries, the Democratic Republic of Congo, where there are more than 115 deaths reported to be Ebola-related. In the Congo city of Bunia, where the outbreak originated, health officials say there are several challenges slowing down efforts of trying to contain this rare strain of Ebola. People traveling from region to region and also the ongoing violence.
The security in part of Ituri remains really fragile. And this is because of the presence of armed groups and recurring intercommunal tensions.
Ebola is a virus that can cause a person to bleed to death, and this strain has no vaccine or specific treatment. Health officials in the DRC have banned gatherings of more than 50 people. But in Bunia, locals attending Sunday Mass like Ronald Safari says he and other churchgoers are taking precautions.
Nous savons que cette maladie existe.
Just because this disease exists, he says, doesn't mean they can close a church. And as the U.S. inches closer to the start of the FIFA World Cup, multiple countries now with travel restrictions in place, including the United States. The U.S. saying U.S. citizens who have been to the DRC, Uganda or South Sudan must now head to airports in Virginia and Atlanta for health screenings. A third airport in Houston added to that list on Tuesday. Foreign visitors and U.S. green card holders who have traveled through or coming from those areas in the last 21 days have been blocked from entering the country. And tonight, an update on one of the American missionaries evacuated from the Congo. Dr. Peter La Rochelle saying that the challenges are overwhelming, but that he has remained free of infection so far.
Lindsay, U.S. officials say they are aggressively trying to contain the largest Ebola outbreak in 10 years and stop it from coming into America. A disaster-resistant response team is now on the ground in the Democratic Republic of Congo and Uganda. Lindsay.
Lama, thank you. President Trump is renewing calls for a White House ballroom after a deadly shooting near the White House gates on Saturday. The president was at the White House during the shooting. ABC senior White House correspondent Selina Wang was on the scene and has the details.
Hours after Secret Service agents shot and killed a suspect who opened fire just steps from the White House, tonight President Trump using the incident to renew his calls for the construction of the White House ballroom. Trump was in the Oval Office with his aides as a gunman approached a security checkpoint on Saturday night with a gun and started firing.
91, respond for a shooting at 17th Street and Pennsylvania Avenue Northwest.
The president, who is facing backlash from even within his own party for his $1 billion request in taxpayer money for the White House complex, saying it goes to show how important it is for all future presidents to get what will be the most safe and secure space of its kind ever built in Washington, D.C. Officials say the suspect has a history of incidents involving the White House. He encountered law enforcement in June 2025 for blocking a point of entry at the White House. He was detained and involuntarily committed for a mental evaluation. 1 month later, he was arrested after he attempted to enter a White House checkpoint. Court records showing a judge ordered he stay away from White House grounds. I was meters away preparing to go live at the White House North Lawn when I heard a flurry of shots fired.
Close, only for the two sides to remain far apart.
We have to evacuate shooting. We have to evacuate shooting.
Reporters sprinting over to the press briefing room as officers fired back, killing the suspect.
Lindsay, no Secret Service personnel were injured in the incident, but a bystander was struck by gunfire. D.C. police say that person remains in the hospital for treatment for a non-life-threatening gunshot wound. Lindsay?
Some harrowing incidents there once again. Selina, thank you. Now to the flash flood threat across several states as rounds of rain sweep across the east. Time-lapse video captured these storm clouds gathering in northeast Alabama. That same system flooded streets and neighborhoods south of Houston. Let's bring in meteorologist Danny Beckstrom from our New York station WABC. Danny, what concerns you most about this?
That growing flash flood risk, Lindsay. We've seen days of downpours all across the east. So the ground is saturated, but heavy rain does not let up from Louisiana to West Virginia. So let's get to the maps here. You can see the rain still falling. We have flood watches posted from New Orleans up through Atlanta, even as far north as West Virginia tonight as the downpours continue. Now, as we move into tomorrow, that flood threat focuses on the south, where the northeast gets one more push of moisture in the morning before finally some recovery as we warm up and dry out in the afternoon. For the west and for the heartland, we're looking at mainly dry conditions. It's quite warm, near record highs for the northern plains. As we move into the week, though, that heat does shift east, so we're unofficially welcoming summer tomorrow, and it will feel like it by Tuesday from Detroit to New York.
Glad to hear that for all of us in the Northeast. All right, Danny, thank you. Honors tonight for NASCAR legend Kyle Busch. The 41-year-old died suddenly on Thursday, devastating family, friends, and fans. Let's bring in ABC's Andrew Dimbert. Andrew, tell us about these honors that have been taking place all weekend.
Lindsay, the racing world is honoring the late NASCAR legend Kyle Busch today on what's known as racing's biggest day, that being the Sunday before Memorial Day, with emotional tributes at both the Indianapolis 500 and NASCAR's Coca-Cola 600. At Indy, the track's scoring pylon lit up on lap 18, a tribute to the number Busch made iconic for years. Driver Romain Grosjean also changed the look of his car to match Busch's famous number font. Down in Charlotte, the mood just as somber. Richard Childress Racing retiring Busch's number 8 this weekend. Known to fans as Rowdy, Busch won more than 230 races across NASCAR's top 3 series and leaves behind a legacy many are calling once in a generation. Today, his family being honored by NASCAR in a tribute before the Coca-Cola 600. Busch died Thursday at the age of 41 after a severe pneumonia turned into sepsis, according to his family, Lindsay.
And our heart does go out to his family. Andrew, thank you. Now to the negotiations to end the 3-month-old war with Iran. After saying just yesterday that a deal could be near, today President Trump is saying significant differences remain and he won't rush into a deal. ABC's chief foreign correspondent Ian Pannell reports tonight from Tel Aviv.
24 hours after saying a deal to end the war with Iran and reopen the Strait of Hormuz was close, President Trump now saying he won't rush into a deal, as significant differences remain. President Trump writing on social media that the deal that he promised just yesterday isn't even fully negotiated yet. If I make a deal with Iran, it'll be a good and proper one, not like the one made by Obama, which gave Iran massive amounts of cash and a clear and open path to a nuclear weapon, Trump wrote on social media. Earlier today, a senior administration official telling ABC News there'll be a limited interim agreement that would include opening the Strait of Hormuz and an end to the U.S. blockade. The official saying there'll also be commitment from the Iranians to negotiate the removal of their stockpile of highly enriched uranium. But Iranian state media saying the draft agreement doesn't have any nuclear commitments. Intelligence sources telling ABC News that despite the bombing, Iran retains the ability to enrich uranium, one of the many pre-war goals that hasn't been reached. Meanwhile, an Israeli official telling ABC News the emerging US-Iran deal appears to be bad, and a source familiar with the situation saying there's serious concern and disappointment in the Prime Minister's office over the US deal with Iran.
Lindsay, as you heard there, it now appears that significant differences still remain between the two sides, despite the administration talking up the possibility of a deal. And tonight, Iranian state media saying negotiators there have no trust in the US. Lindsay?
Ian, and we know that the president is also trying repeatedly to end the war between Russia and Ukraine, but any sign of a slowdown in attacks there?
Yeah, I mean, we're seeing large-scale aerial bombardments by Russia now with a massive attack on Ukraine with hundreds of drones and missiles, including its new hypersonic Oreshnik missile, leaving 4 dead and almost 100 injured. Now, Russia's defense ministry saying the attack was a response to Ukrainian strikes in Russia, with the death toll from that strike on a student dormitory Friday now 21. Ukraine, for its part, denies hitting civilian sites. But I think there's no doubt that both are ramping up their strike capabilities. And despite the president promising to end the war within 24 hours, there's no sign of a deal at hand. Lindsay?
Ian reporting for us in Tel Aviv. Thank you. Turning now to Turkey, where police fired tear gas and rubber bullets at supporters of the main opposition party. This marked a violent end to a multi-day standoff in the capital of Turkey after an appeals court removed the party's leadership. Footage shows officers storming the headquarters to evict the ousted leader and his barricaded supporters. Now to a frightening scene in South Carolina. At least 19 people were injured in a stampede at a bike festival. It happened early Sunday morning. ABC's Morgan Norwood has the new details coming in tonight.
As millions flock to America's coastline for Memorial Day weekend, panic playing out at Atlantic Beach, South Carolina.
We have large crowds gathering and forming.
A massive crowd suddenly surging near a concert stage, sending hundreds running and triggering a stampede.
We have an individual reporting they've been trampled.
The incident unfolding during a concert as Atlantic Beach hosts its annual Black Pearl Cultural Heritage and Bike Festival, an event drawing hundreds of thousands to the area. The situation escalating so quickly, Horry County Fire Rescue declaring it a mass casualty incident. At least 19 injured, several taken to the hospital. Tonight, town officials say there were no confirmed fights, weapons, or direct threats to public safety.
And Lindsay, officials say the chaos happened when one person started running, sparking a chain reaction they say lasted only seconds before law enforcement showed up and restored order. Lindsay?
Morgan, thank you. A dramatic cave rescue in upstate New York. A man pinned for hours in a narrow crevice, unable to move. It was 50 degrees inside the cave with 100% humidity. He developed hypothermia. State forest rangers feared it would take days to free him, but they managed to do so in a matter of hours. ABC's Rena Roy joins us now. Rena?
Lindsay, this was a delicate mission. It took rescuers more than 6 hours to get that man to safety. And now we're getting a look at what exactly they were dealing with. You can see the hiker stuck inside Merlin's cave, approximately 400 feet from the entrance. This is in the rural upstate town of Canaan, New York. Officials say he was crawling through the cave when he slipped into that tight crevice, wedged by his rib cage and pelvis, becoming hypothermic. Rescuers trying to remove him on their own, but they ended up needing a hammer drill to get rid of some of that rock first. Rangers say that man did remain calm but was low on energy. He was given warm fluids and food, at one point high-fiving the crew for a job well done. Lindsay?
All right, so glad to hear that. Rena, thank you. Still ahead on this Sunday, 5 Chicago police officers are in fair condition after trying to disperse a team takeover on the city's west side. We'll explain. And for the second time in a week, a deadly shark attack at one of Australia's most popular tourist spots. Next tonight to Chicago, where 5 police officers are in fair condition after being struck by a car while on duty. It happened early this morning as police worked to disperse a large team takeover on the city's west side. The car allegedly mounted the curb, then slammed into a utility pole and patrol car before stopping. Charges against the 18-year-old driver are pending. Australia just had its second fatal shark attack in a week. A 39-year-old man was mauled today as he and a group of 3 friends were spearfishing on the Great Barrier Reef. Authorities say the man died after sustaining a critical head injury. Fishermen reported seeing bull sharks in the area ahead of the attack. When World News Tonight returns, the New York Knicks are just 1 win away from the team's first NBA Finals appearance in nearly 30 years. To the index now, the New York Knicks are just 1 win away from the team's first NBA Finals appearance in more than a quarter century. The victory on Saturday night against the Cleveland Cavaliers was the first playoff game that they never trailed. You can watch Game 4 of the NBA East Finals tomorrow at 8 p.m. Eastern on ESPN. Tonight, Memorial Day is being observed across the country, including Newport, Rhode Island, where thousands of fallen U.S. service members were honored. The memorial features combat boots adorned with flags and placards. Each pair represents a U.S. service member killed in action since September 11th of 2001. This special Memorial Day display first began in 2016. When we come back, from sacrifice to celebration, the 100-year-old veteran who finally is going to the prom. Finally, 8 decades ago, he traded the prom for the war, but now the night he never had.
At Independence Village of Naperville, Illinois, a group of teens from Tia Valley High School set out to surprise 100-year-old World War II veteran Ray Svenoha.
I remember the last time we were here, you mentioned that you couldn't go to prom because you were serving our country. So we wanted to thank you for your service by inviting you to a night at prom. So, oh my God.
Back then, he traded corsages and slow dances for duty and sacrifice.
I took 2 exams, one for the Navy and one for the Army Air Force. So I didn't have too much choice. I was supposed to report for duty.
But these 6 students were determined Ray would finally have his prom night. The entire community stepped in to make sure the evening shimmered with the kind of joy he missed all those decades ago. A carefully tailored tuxedo, fresh haircut, boutonniere pinned to his lapel, bouquets for each of his dates, a vintage trolley carrying Ray and the girls to the dance.
My girls.
Shortly after arriving at the school, Ray was on the dance floor. While there was a lot of movement on the dance floor, perhaps this was the most moving part of all.
And I love you all.
Thankful for his service and to you for watching. Good night.